YouTube, welcome to the last part of the Recomp guide. And this last portion is going to focus on the training, the performance aspect that you can expect on a recomp, as well as the fat loss, which is, of course, what we want when we recomp. So this is going to be less structured than the other videos because I'm going to tell you a lot about my own experience and the theories I have surrounding the recomp. Note that there are theories, I don't base that on science or any studies, it's just what I think. So, I said in the previous episode that diet and exercise, your training regimens, are both important when it comes to recomping because they are both going to promote the process of trading fat for muscle. But there's also the fact that you are going to be able to use your performance in the gym and your training as a measure of how well the recomp is going. Why? Because you're staying at the same weight, you're losing fat, and you're getting muscle, which means what? You should be getting stronger. Yes, fat makes you stronger because it surrounds the muscle, it works as a spring, and mass moves mass at the end of the day. But muscle is much more beneficial for strength. Why? Because it actually it's a fiber that the very existence of muscle serves only one purpose: to move. So of course, if you trade 1 pound of fat for 1 pound of muscle, you're going to get much stronger. This is also why, and that's sort of off topic, but it's interesting to think about. If you had someone who had the ability to balloon up to 1,000 pounds and still stay mobile and still be able to do the power lifts, that person would most likely be a world record holder in the no limit category where there is no cap for the weight you can be. Because their body mass would move insane body mass, but of course that's not how it works. That being said, if the same person was able to get to 1,000 pounds of muscle, their strength would be multiplied by maybe 30. That would be like not even a superhero, because not even superheroes are that strong. It would be like an anime character, pretty much, like a monster, a kaiju. But I digress. So the same is going to apply to your body. So if you recomp and you're getting weaker, most likely what is going on? You're not really recomping. One of two things is happening. Either you're losing weight, which it's your fault because you didn't track, or you're staying at the same weight, but you're losing muscle and you're getting fat instead of muscle, which is possible. It is possible if your hormonal profile is not right, if the type of diet you're following is not suitable to you, and if your training regimen is not tailored towards making muscular gains. I'm not going to cover these aspects. I made videos about them. If you want to know how to train, check the hypertrophy series. If you want to know about diet, check the dietary advice playlist. That being said, if the recomp goes well, which is what I'm focusing on today, your strength is going up. And even more than just your strength, your tonnage is going up. If your ability to handle volume gets lower, you're not recomping properly. You should not be feeling tired. You should not be feeling depleted. You should not have to call it quits after 2/4 of the workout because you can't go anymore. These are signs that your body is not doing what it's supposed to do. As I said before, by feeding your body enough to maintain your body mass and training, you're encouraging your body to do the right thing, which is why it should drop the fat for muscle. If it's not doing that, and it's shown by the fact that you're not performing in the gym, you need to reassess and change things up. For me, my strength has been going up since I started the recomp. There are certain lifts that are stalling, but things that are stalling progress in tonnage, or the variations in the specific accessories are also progressing. So this is a way for me to know that the recomp is going well. As far as performance go, as I said before, it should not, that's most of the goal of a recomp, unlike a cut, the recomp should not have a negative impact on your training. This is super important. This is the reason why you recomp in the first place. If you were going to sacrifice your training for potential aesthetic gains, then you would just do a cut. But because you have accepted the fact that it's going to take longer, but you have the patience to drop fat very slowly, you're doing a recomp. If you're losing strength, that's not a recomp anymore. You're messing up, so keep that in mind. That's for the performance aspect of the thing. As far as what your training should look like, I'm keeping the body fat loss at the end because it's the most interesting topic. As far as what your training should look like, as I explained before, you do not want to jump on a specific training right as you start the recomp because it's going to completely wreck your ability to control the variables. Same for the diet, I explained that in the previous video. Your training should be what it's always been, meaning you want to progress, you program for progress, and you increase your tonnage over time. Your ability to increase tonnage is not going to be the same as if you were on a bulk. Why? Because on the bulk, your body mass goes up, your body gets prime nutrition to build muscle and fat, so of course your lifts go up. This is where patience also is very important for people who recomp. You might have to retake days. You might have a day where you get random number, 1,000 tonnage, and you might a week or two after retake that day and still get the same amount of tonnage. That's fine, because I can guarantee you that other days in the program will progress. That's still progression, that's still tonnage going up. So that's a good thing. What you don't want to do is panic when there is no progress and modify the program, because again, it is going to completely kill your ability to assess if the recomp is going well. As far as volume intensity, that depends on what you respond to. I respond to very high volume, I train with high intensity as well. The amount of tonnage I need to grow is frankly super high. If you can get away with less, then great for you. It all depends on who you are, right, and your training history. One thing though is, just because you're doing a recomp does not mean that you have to succumb to the high volume fallacies of cuts. A ton of people, when they do cuts, they lower the intensity, they do more volume, which at the end of the day means nothing, because volume and intensity exist together. So what they're essentially doing is they're doing low intensity, high volume stuff. I don't think it's a good idea for cuts, but this is not the topic of the video. As far as your recomp goes, you should be doing what everyone should be doing. Train with the highest possible intensity, with variances in the intensity so that you can experience different rep ranges. You can have high volume and intensity manipulation, and you increase the volume over time to get more and more and more tonnage. So that's pretty much that for the training. And we're going to keep talking about the training when you talk about fat loss. So this is, for me, the heart of the guide. This is what I wanted to get to, but I needed to introduce it properly. So you will not be losing fat everywhere on your body at the same rate. I know that people have a tough time understanding that notion because YouTube fitness deals in absolutes, which is a terrible way to think about things. But there is such a thing as spot reduction. The only thing is you cannot control it, meaning that there is no way for you to do something and know for a fact it's going to result in one area of the body dropping fat. It's not possible, which is why the creams to get no fat on your love handles, all of that stuff, the pills, that's nonsense. This is just marketing schemes, it doesn't work. That being said, if you do a recomp properly, you're going to notice that your body has a tendency to drop fat in certain areas more than others. For me, I have noticed that my legs haven't changed at all, meaning that they haven't shrunk, they haven't gotten any definition, and they've even gotten bigger at the same body weight. But other areas of my body are getting really, really lean. If you see my videos, you've seen that the front is just getting shredded. The only part of the front that is not losing fat is my chest. My chest always carries fat. That's the way it is. But for me, the abs are really coming through. The obliques are showing, the shoulder veins, the traps. All of that is really losing a ton of fat. That's body composition. It's the way your body stores fat. You can affect it. I explained that in the estrogen video. There are certain areas of the body that if your hormonal profile is all out of whack, you're going to have a tendency to carry more fat there. And if you watch the cold shower video, you also know that cold showers promote a certain type of fat. I say that why? So that you're not surprised. Because it can be surprising. You're losing fat, but it's completely random. And you're also going to find that certain areas of the body lose fat and then they store and they stop. For me, my face lost a ton of fat quick and now it's stored and it sort of moved around. It feels like the body is sort of it has an order of things where it starts here and then it goes there, etc. It's not going to be uniformous. That's what you need to understand. As far as fat goes, also understand that because you are going to lose fat on certain areas faster, if you're like me and you base a lot of your progress on measurements, this might throw a wrench into things. That being said, as I said in the previous parts, because you're doing a recomp and you're doing it properly, you are encouraging the body to drop a certain type of fat and not another. The type of fat that your body is going to try and get rid of is going to be visceral fat, the one surrounding your organs. The type that your body is not trying to get rid of is subcutaneous fat and intramuscular fat. Why? Because your body needs those to be performant. You are throwing high intensity movements at your body every single day. The body is not stupid. It doesn't want to break. It knows it needs to stay strong. And therefore, if it drops fat in those areas around your skin, around the muscles, and within the muscles, it's going to weaken you. When it has fat available that are around the organs or around your waist doing nothing, why would it pick the first one and not the second? It's going to pick the second. I can tell you that. And I know from experience why. Because as I got into the recomp, I was also a bit anxious because I was thinking to myself, well, what if I just start losing a ton of fat in my arms and my legs? This is really going to make my goals of getting bigger arms and legs really difficult, right? Well, that just hasn't happened. What I've noticed with me is that I have maintained size in my arms. They've even grown a little bit because my triceps have grown, and they look leaner. That's another thing with recomps. It's going to make it tough to guess with visual details whether or not you're losing fat. Why? Because you're getting muscle as you do that, and muscles make the area look leaner. So for me, I have bicep veins coming through, my forearms are more lean, but they still measure at 17.5 and even higher. So that's one thing that also is a great thing about recomps is the body knows what it's doing. For me, because my legs didn't lose any fat and I'm getting stronger, my legs have actually been growing the most out of all of my body parts, even though they're super big already. So that's a good thing, right? You don't have, that's the beauty about recomps. You don't have to sacrifice size for shreds. You can actually get both. The kicker is it's super slow and it takes a lot of efforts. It's a commitment thing. As far as body fat goes, also know that certain areas of the body, because they have no body fat, they're not going to suffer at all from a recomp. Like the forearms, for example, the forearms are super lean. It's one of the areas of the body that are the leanest. So for me, what I've noticed is that they're just doing their thing. They're just growing because there's no fat. Like, that's why I said that your body is not going to drop fat everywhere. Like, think about it, for example. Look at your feet. There is fat on your feet, but just a tiny, tiny bit. That's why your feet are so vascular. When you lose weight, you think you're going to lose weight in your feet? You think your body just scans everything and just takes a little bit of the layer of fat everywhere? No, it prioritizes certain spots. So spots that have no fat, your body is just not going to touch it. So that's a good, that's a very good thing for people who carry fat in certain areas that looks disgracious. Your body is going to get rid of that first. So that's a good thing. And there's one last thing I want to talk about, and it's sort of linked with what I said previously, but I want to explain it in more details. If you know about muscle and fat and their scientific properties in a sense, you know that because there is a difference in density. When you drop fat, it's expected that if you drop fat in an area, because of its density, even if you put on muscle, there's going to be some shrinkage of the muscle and of the area. But as I said before, the process works in theory like this, but not in practice, meaning that yes, you're going to have to trade some of that fat for muscle. You're going to have to. Why? You're staying at a calorie level that does not allow your body to use resources that you feed it to make muscle. So it has to get some fat to build that muscle. But just because you're getting weight, you're getting a bigger bicep, for example, just because you're putting on muscle here does not mean that your body is taking fat from here. It can take fat from somewhere else. So if it takes fat from the love handle, it can go and build the bicep. You've lost no additional fat in the bicep, and you gained muscle. So that is sort of the conclusion I came up to when it comes to recomps, and why I didn't notice my body parts shrinking, because the fat was coming from somewhere else. And also know that because you have fats that surround your organs, or fats that are deep inside that you don't see, you might not even look leaner, but you're still trading fat for muscle. And in a sense, you will look leaner because the muscle is going to make you look leaner. So as far as performance, as far as training, and as far as just fat distribution in your body in the first place, that's pretty much all I have. As I said before, with your training, this is also going to be something that is also related to nucleus overload in a sense, because I found that, for example, my abs came through super hard, and some people say that nucleus overload, aka high frequency, high volume, low intensity training, reduces body fat, meaning that people say you can spot reduce if you really train an area, which would be great, especially because for me it's the abs, because it would mean that you can literally decide, hey, I'm going to train that body part a ton and it's going to shed fat. It's true in a sense, but not how people think. Think about the example I gave for my bicep. Just because you are working your abs a ton doesn't mean that your body is suddenly going to take fat away from the area. I would even argue it's the opposite. You're training the muscle, so your body wants the muscle to stay strong so that it doesn't rip. It might send more fat around the muscle and more fat within the muscle to keep it strong. But because the muscle is getting bigger and the fibers are getting bigger, it looks leaner, which is why people who say high volume training makes you look shredded. Yeah, it does, because you're building more muscle mass. If you check my video on body fat percentage and what people don't get about it, it's in direct correlation with that. People don't understand the impact that mass has on the body. The weight makes fat look. It makes fat look much better, and sometimes even aesthetic. So that's going to be it. That was the last link I wanted to make with training and fat loss. And of course, the part 4 is going to be a Q&A, so it's open to any questions. I will leave the floor open for at least a month so that we get good questions and we can make a long video for the Q&A. Because once I make a video on the topic, that's it, that's what you get. This is all that I have to say about it. So let me think for 1 second. But I think as far as recomps, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. So this is going to be it. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.